Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
We All Be is on the have on the one and only SiStar Bernadette, reporting live from information we need to know about people, because knowledge is the currency of the universe, and information is power. How you doing this evening?
I'm good. Peace, light, and positive energy, Brother Ron.
That's cool. I just want to catch up with you. You're such a wonderful person to catch up with. You have so much knowledge, and you're so beautiful, spirit, mind, body, and soul. So what's going on? Can you let us know what's going on with you? Because you got some very disturbing news.
Yes, very disturbing news. September 12th, white supremacy descended upon me and my family, and they had been Jersey City had been messing with my mom for quite some time, about 10 years, bullying her and harassing her for different housing issues. If her white neighbors did 10 things that were wrong, they didn't say nothing to them, but my mom would do one simple thing wrong and they'd descend upon her. So they got very strict as of the last couple of years, because the area is becoming what they call gentrified. But really what it is they were kicking out poor indigenous folk, poor black, Hispanic, even poor white folk. They want them out so that rich white people can move in. Now, I want you to understand something. We lived on the worst block in Jersey City at the time. It's Wayne Street. And it was so bad because there were 4 entire gangs that live within that 2 blocks. And when I say entire gangs, I mean 2 of the gangs, it occupied a whole building, and everyone in the gang was related. So grandma got a police record, uncle got a police, every single body in the family, and we had a bunch of different families like this, and there was drug running and all kinds of rape, all kinds of craziness going on for years. My mother practically single-handedly cleaned the area. She was the vice president of the committee to clean. It was called the Wayne Street Association. Today it's called the Van Voort Street Association. They wanted her to be the president, but she was too busy, so she said, no, I'll just be the vice president. And the meetings were held in my house to clean the neighborhood that now wants her out because she's the poor indigenous person. But it goes further than that. When my mom was having a lot of problems, I'm mixed. My father is from France. He's Sicilian. And, he looks like a modern-day Arab, but I just so happen to be fairer than both my parents. So the way they look at me is kind of like a white person, until they saw that my boys were black, or until they found out, because my boys like myself look questionable. We kind of look Hispanic. We look ethnic, but you don't quite know what we are. So when they found out that my boys were black, so they started to be a little bit tougher on my mother. And once I erected the Moorish flag, because we are Moors, no matter how light I may be, we are Moors. And once I erected that Moorish flag up, that's when we saw the city really start to do what they were doing. As a matter of fact, 2 years ago, I was trying to open up an indigenous center in my garden apartment, and I was asking for city funding. Once they found out I wanted to have an indigenous center in my house, they started to become even more diligent in giving us fines and doing things against us, because they didn't want that, not in their white neighborhood. And once the white children would come to my house and play with my children because I love all the children. And when they would all come to my house, understand, I homeschool. I teach about the real story, the real history. You know, whether you believe in Jesus or not, he was a brother. He was a black man. I let them little white Christian children know Santa Claus is black and so is Jesus. And so they know, you know, that's St. Nicholas. So I am just giving real information, you know, and putting it out there. They don't like about the books that I was beginning to write and shop different publishers. And originally the book was going to be called From Africa to Archipelago. And Archipelago is the Philippines. And the Philippines, Brother Ron, just so people could understand, because they don't want this book out there. In fact, an African elder told me, you need to go change the name of your book, because best believe them white folks is not going to have you putting out that book. And in that book, I will be stating that the Philippines is an archipelago of 7,107 islands, Brother Ron. 7,107 islands. Do the math, colonization only made it to about 8 or 10 islands. So what does that mean? That means that the rest of the other 7,000 and change islands are completely African looking. People are as dark as the Indian Sikhs. People have afros. You could not tell the difference. There are some who look just like Lupita, beautiful like her, chocolate like her, with an afro. They do not want you to know this. They do not want you to know that the Philippines is the other Africa. As a matter of fact, after Africa, we have the most gold in the world, after Africa. So we are actually very indigenous because Filipinos, prior to the Spanish and prior to the Chinese, are mixed with 8 different Africans. And when I say 8 different Africans, I am including India. In fact, when you look in the Bible, and what's wonderful about the Bible is not the stories, but the names. Do you know why, Brother Ron? Because the Bible gives us our real names before colonization. So in the Bible, it said King Solomon got his gold for the temple to God from Tarshish because he was dealing with Ophir and Tarshish receiving supplies, gold, silver, ivory, peacocks, and monkeys. Well, out of those 7,107 islands, Tarshish is my grandfather's island. And Tarshish is where all the gold came for King Solomon's temple. So that's how ancient we are. And he even say in the Bible that King Solomon had his troops as well as Phoenician troops. Phoenicians were the names for ancient Greeks, and they were Mediterraneans, but they were dark people. And those Phoenicians were sent as well as Solomon's own people. Remember, he coming out of Africa. So that means he sent African troops and Phoenician troops, other dark-skinned people, to go live with the Filipinos, who was already Africans. So we was already mixing all up amongst ourselves prior to the European coming out the cave. By the time he came out the cave 4,000 years ago, he still couldn't speak. He was grunting. At that particular point in time, we had many empires that had risen and fallen several times over. So this is who we are. Filipinos are part of the African empire. So I want to state that to you. That's first and foremost. But back to my situation, I was told by realtors, Caucasian realtors, who looked at me kind of like a white person, and they say, you know, they're going to keep messing with you because your house is in a zone that is not zoned off for black owned. So in other words, you could move there if you have the money, because now it's very expensive. You could move there if you have the money, but they're not going to let you buy a building or a house. They'll let you buy a condo if it's 3 or more condos in a building, but they're not going to let you buy a house. Because I've seen it. I've seen beautiful Ethiopian families come, the whole family looking like a Tide family, beautiful and rich, and nobody will sell them, but they'll sell to somebody else. So it's really what we're talking about, what is sectioned off of Black-owned. And why is that so important? It's important because my mortgage company had given us a new reverse mortgage. And during that meeting, I let them know that the house, my mom keeps calling the house my house. It's really her house. But I consider the house my children's house. And they had no problem. They gave us the reverse loan. But when they met my children, the same day, that same evening, they met my children thereafter, they practically ran out of the office. My children showed up, and my attorney introduced my children. She said, children, the ones the house being saved for. And he literally looked right past my children and said, where are they? And I said, these are my children. And he was shocked because we keep it natural. So they had tall afros, and he was just shocked. His mouth was on the floor. His jaw was on the floor. He could not believe. And when she introduced him, he had extended his hand out because he thought my children were behind these kids. When he found out that those were my kids, he put his hand away, grabbed his suitcase, and ran out the office. Then he called me the following morning at 8:30 when the mortgage company don't even open up till 9:30. Told me after our meeting he went to the office when I know he didn't because the office closes by then, and our meeting finished at 6:30 at night. He had the nerve to tell us that he was confused and mistaken, and when he got back to the office, he realized that there was some stipulation and he couldn't give us the loan, so he took the loan back. After my mother had signed for it and everything, just because of my children. So, again, this ain't really about my mom. It's not even really about me. It's about the city not wanting black children to own a house ultimately, and they do not like that I was giving my children Moorish education. So for anybody out there that doesn't know, the Masons, these great Masons with all this hidden knowledge, every single drop of Mason knowledge is stolen Moorish knowledge. And I am a Moor. And we even have documentation of it. Growing up, I had to learn Muslim dances. Why, if we Catholic, do I have to learn Muslim dances? Because as Moors, this is who we are. In fact, part of my family in the Philippines, not everyone, they think everybody is Catholic. Let me explain to you why colonization only made it to 8 to 10 different islands, because when they went to all the other islands, all the people fought back, and all these people were ancient Muslims, and they was not having it. So the Philippines is not a Christian nation as people would think. In fact, I have family in the Philippines, and their last name is Ali Baba. Okay? You can't even, it's actually Ali Badbad, but they know it comes from the Ali Baba. It's not too far of a skip over from Ali Baba to Ali Badbad. And I'm going to tell you, out of the 4 books I'm writing, one of them deals with the direct connection. And, you know, I've been, I don't know if I told you, but I've been learning Swahili and teaching it to my children and others as well. And in my learning Swahili, I am finding insane amount of words that are actually Filipino words as well. Literally.
Wow.
The same exact word. They might mean slightly different in Filipino, but it's the same word, even spelled the same way. So we're an ancient people. But I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. Back to what we're talking about. We are Moors. We are Moors. And you understand, in this country, they don't want to give Moors our right. And technically, if you are not white, if you are of any ethnicity, you are a Moor, because that's who we are. We are the indigenous people who travel and sail, originating with the North African Moors. And I want you to understand something. My grandfather and all his brothers, and they were all sailors because we're Moors. We've been traveling to the Americas since the 900s, at least. We can prove that. You know, my family's saying it's probably before that, but we can at least trace ourselves back to coming to America since the 900s. Because what people don't realize, what mainstream doesn't realize, is when they say make America great again, it was great at one point. It was great when there was not a European walking this land, because everyone would come here, everyone would do trade, there was business, there was people coming from China, Philippines, every brown nation you can conceive coming to America to trade and do business. That's when America was great, and that was the last time it was great, up until white folk stumbled upon our shores. You know, so here we have white supremacy, and I've told these people when they try to suggest, I've had police come to my house and suggest that I am not qualified to homeschool. And I asked the cop, who sounds like he hasn't even finished the 6th grade, I said, tell me whether I'm qualified or not, because, Ron, I'm a registered genius with the city of Jersey City for the last 13 years. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know who this is why the Board of Education, who I'm registered with, does not give me a complete syllabus. I used to use their syllabus to teach my kids. But after I changed and switched it up, I went back to them and I said, do you mind that this is what I'm teaching my kids? You know what they told me? What? They say, you the genius. We tested you. You know better than us. So we're not going to tell you what to teach your kids, but clearly you already know. I went to prep school. I went to college. I have a degree, and I've always gone to private school. So for these people to bust in my house, and, well, like I said, even before my incident on September 12th, police would pass by my house and say, oh, you're not qualified. I'm like, excuse me, in my house, I am the law, I'm the government, I'm the school, and everyone, me. And they don't like that. So they decided to bust up my family. They came to my house on September 12th. I had a scheduled inspection for Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, we had a scheduled inspection because we had some house violations. Paint this, do that, fix that. They were supposed to come Friday the 13th to rip up the tickets that they had given to us prior and just write us as a clean bill on our house. Mm-hmm. But what they did was show up the day before September 12th. See, the city knew. They tried to set up our meeting for our inspection for September 12th, but I told them I couldn't do that because I had a meeting with the president of the NAACP, Reverend Legay. And our meeting was to discuss and begin lawsuit proceedings against the city, against the police department, as well as the city, for all these illegal things that they were doing. And so they came. They knew I had an afternoon appointment with him. They showed up at 10:30 that morning while I was outside. And then when I tried to walk in my gate, the prosecutor himself blocked my way, mishandled me sexually, placed his pelvis in front of my pelvis like we're going to have sex, and pushed me out my gate and said, no, you're not, meaning I'm not going in my house. And then he started coming at me with his face in my face, and as an empath, I felt like he was going to hit me. And honestly, if you could have seen what was occurring, you yourself would feel like he was going to hit me because I was backing up, and as I backed up, he got closer and closer in my face, and he yelled at me. He said, Miss Basano, may I come in your house? And I got very quiet and scared because I felt like the man was going to hit me, which he did. And I said to him, no, you may not. I'm calling my attorney. Because last time he tried to pull a stunt like that, and I called my attorney told him, go away. You have no right and no warrant. And at this point, we had a scheduled inspection. So what this man was doing here the day before, I could not comprehend, but I knew it was highly illegal. When I said, no, I'm calling my attorney, he said, no, you're not, and he hauled off and punched me. I blocked my face with my phone, and he cracked my phone with his big ring, and my phone fell to the ground. When I went to bend down and pick it up, here comes Sergeant Calton, part of the Quality of Life squad. Sergeant Calton came along. He put his hand all the way back behind his head and slapped my hand so hard that I had a bump and a bruise on my vein. It was purple for 2 weeks. So he slapped my hand to drop the phone because the prosecutors were like, get it, meaning my phone, because they thought I recorded the assault. I was not recording the assault, but I regret that I wasn't. So when the cop picked up my phone, when I picked up my phone, but the cop, had hit me, and I picked up my phone, and I pointed my phone at both of them. I said, hey, this is highly illegal. You can't do this. And then the prosecutor said, just arrest her. And the cop did not even tell me I was under arrest. He just walked over to me and started grabbing on my arms like he was robbing me. And I kept saying to him, what are you doing? What are you doing? Ouch, what are you doing? Now, he had gloves on. So all these people who came to my house, they blocked off the block. They hands up on both sides of my house on the sidewalk like it was a drug bust. Mm-hmm. And they made all my neighbors and everybody clear out and move out of the way so that nobody would see them beating me up. But they had no problem assaulting me in front of my black child, sitting 10 feet on the steps watching me. And they know he was watching me. And I say black, but my children are indigenous. They're Native Americans. They are Cherokee and Blackfoot. But for our purposes, they saw my black child sitting there, and they knew that was my child. And they had no problem with beating me up in front of my child. And then while I was being roughed up, the only person doing his job was an officer named Santiago. Mm-hmm. And thank God Officer Santiago was doing his job. And Officer Santiago, aside from being Hispanic, is a very, very dark-skinned Hispanic. Very dark-skinned. So he was the only person doing his job, and he was who was the person with the body cam who actually wound up recording my whole assault and everything that occurred, and everything that occurred thereafter. So all my evidence, and they have the body cam footage. So all of this, was recorded. Now, I do not even know why a sergeant would come trying to grab me and do all kind of craziness. I want to explain something to you. We already know that a lot of these white folk is on opioids. We already know this. Mm-hmm. But I'm telling you, a lot of the white folk where I live, because there's a lot of rich people, are coked up. And I never knew that they were coked up until people told me, because I'm not that good at I'm good at recognizing drunks. That's what I'm good at recognizing, but I can't really tell when people are on certain things and what they're on. I don't know how to tell. But this guy, this sergeant, was very in a fog, because as he was roughing me up, I kept saying, what am I being arrested for? What am I being arrested for? Well, a regular cop would be like, you're being arrested for whatever. You're being arrested for solicitation. You're being arrested for robbery. You're being arrested for whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. They never said anything. As I asked each time, what am I being arrested for, the sergeant himself started telling me personal issues. So the conversation went like this. What am I being arrested? Ha, 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 we got you. Why am I being arrested? Oh, you didn't think we were going to come get you? Ha, ha. But why am I being arrested? Oh, but we've been watching you for a while. I mean, what? Wow. So this tells you that there is something gone wrong. Okay, so they go to my house, no warrant. They put me in the police truck, and they keep me there for almost an hour. And the cop himself was like waiting and waiting. I said, listen, they're taking too long in my house. Why would they be in my house for so long? I didn't find out till several days later. They had trashed the inside of my home. I want you to understand something. Much like Dr. Sabi, who was healing people and died mysteriously in jail from the cold or flu. Come on, we already know. Mm-hmm. In that same way, do you know what I do for a living, Ron, aside from make candles, what I do for a living? The last 4 years, I work for cleaning companies, and I've been doing my own. I've already created my own cleaning company as of the last year. So I clean and I organize hoarders. So you mean to tell me I clean and organize hoarders, but I come home and I throw garbage from the kitchen in my children's room? I want you to understand something. If there are people who are dirty in a home and they come to the house and they see your home like that, the proper procedure is them to issue you tickets, okay? And then what they're supposed to do is say, all right, today is Tuesday. We're coming back on Friday, and if this is not clean by Friday, we're going to give you more tickets. But if you clean this by Friday, we will take away the existing ticket. So that's what had kind of occurred with us. So they were supposed to take away the tickets on Friday the 13th inspection, but instead they arrested us for the same tickets that we were cooperating with. They arrested us the day before. Now, I've not have conversation recorded of me making the appointment for Friday the 13th. I have the health department disgusting. He doesn't know why the prosecutor showed up a day before the inspection and did what he did. I got the health department. I also have my mother recorded with the health department Thursday, because today is Tuesday, and my mother is demanding the keys to our house, and first they tell her they can't help her, and when she says she's going to sue them, they immediately talk to the supervisor and tell her that all calls from her to any department are to be rerouted to the same prosecutor who busted in our house, assaulted me, and has kept my mother in the hospital, forcing her to be drugged for 3 months. When they take your children and they lock your house and they take your dogs and adopt them out, so now you've taken my truck, my house, my dogs, my kids, and my mother, and you've taken everyone away and everything away, and they even locked our bank accounts. Now, somebody else within the city, I went to a senator's aide, and the senator's aide said to me, well, if they lock the bank accounts and they lock you at your house, how do they even expect you to live? And I said, they don't. They expect me to turn to drugs, become a derelict. They expect me to become a prostitute. This is what they expect of poor indigenous folk. But they don't understand that we help each other. We do for each other. So I've gotten by on help and assistance this is so serious that they won't even give me food stamps, emergency assistance, nothing at all. So what I'm telling you is that's against the law, because for everybody out there, they can't deny you government assistance and then the government come and police you. You understand what I'm saying? The government can't say you don't qualify for this and you don't qualify for that, even though I'm a citizen, even though I was born on the military base, even though both my parents were citizens before they even met each other, before they even got married. You can't do that. You cannot take away my basic rights. You cannot say you cannot have welfare and food stamps. Yet some lady coming here from Yugoslavia or Poland or one of these other European countries, and within 2 days that lady got welfare and food stamps for her and her 4 kids. How does that happen? You know what I'm saying? So if you're an American citizen, I don't care what you look like, you have the right to benefits. You have to fight. You see, I'm in the hospital, and this man hears me talking. It's a white man hearing me talking. Even he, you can't do that. You can't do that. So everything illegal they doing to me, they did double jeopardy to me. It's on record. They have the prosecutor perjuring himself. The prosecutor is not allowing my mother out the hospital. He's spoken to many entities. But you know what he did, Brother Ron? He took her housing ticket, transferred them all to me, put us in the media, put us on Eyewitness New York News, called me a bad mother, said I abandoned my children and mother and just left for weeks. I don't even know where I went. I wish I went somewhere. I wish I went on vacay. I didn't go nowhere. I've been home the whole time because I operate out my house and I homeschool and I take care of my elderly mother. And what they did was they tore my whole family apart. So they're trying to get us to lose the house because we have sheriff sales. So now when they forced the guardian on my mother. This is literally the white man saying, no, you cannot be in charge of you. My mother does not have dementia. And anybody who goes looks at the videos, which I posted one today and I'm going to post more on my channel, they will see, no, her mother's in her right mind. So why did they force us out our house? Why did they padlock our house? Why, when I go to every single court, whether it's diocese or municipal court or whatever court have you, superior court, it does not make a difference. Whatever court I show up in, they tell the judge that my house is condemned, and that is completely false. My house is padlocked. Another thing they're doing illegal is the city of Jersey City is telling us that we have a flea contamination. I want you to understand something. After we were all removed from my residence, we were all taken to the hospital, and every single one of us individually was strip searched. They searched our clothes, and because my children and I have very thick hair, they really went extra thorough through our hair, and my hair is almost to my waist. So the prosecutor told them, go through her hair inch by inch twice, which is what they did. At the end of this, the white lady, the nurse who finished going through my head twice, she took off her gloves and she threw them, slammed them on the floor, and she said, this is bullshit. Now, I want you to understand, I was just assaulted by a prosecutor and a sergeant. I thought she was going to hit me now because I don't know what the hell is going on at this point. Right. And so I started apologizing to her, not even knowing what's going on. And she was like, no, sweetie, no, not you. She said the prosecutor himself spoke to me and insisted that you, your mother, and your children were swarming in fleas. She said, I want you to know I am the nurse who worked on both your kids and your mom and went through their hair and strip searched them and everything. And she said not one of you had one flea, not even a flea bite. And she said if there were fleas in your house, it would be in your hair and the children's hair because our hair is super, super thick. Mm-hmm. And my children have afros. So definitely it would be in their hair or my hair, but not one flea. What does that mean? That means we had no flea infestation. We had 3 dogs that had fleas, and all our dogs were in the backyard. So there was no infestation in my house, but they're trying to tell my mother, you got to get the house exterminated for fleas. It'll cost $5,000. And here's the key. They're telling us our house needs to be cleaned, but they locked it for 3 months. When I found out my house was dirty, I told the judge that I was willing to be locked in the house arrest, until I, by myself, cleaned that house top to bottom. Judge Marley said, I like this. She said, that's very appropriate for this crime, quote unquote. As soon as she said, this is what I'm going to do, Prosecutor Jacob V. Hudnut, ironically enough, that's his name. That's his real name. I can't even make this up. It's like a gift from the universe that the person that did all this craziness to me is named Hudnut, Hudnut. Hudnut came because I was in court from jail, the video court. When she said, I'm going to do that, I'm going to lock you in your house because that's appropriate for you to clean your house, Hudnut came from behind the camera and showed himself and said, Your Honor, that's the key. This is how white people always tell on themselves. They always tell. They can't help it. He said, I do not want her out. I want her to sit in jail. Now, when the prosecutor makes a recommendation on behalf of the city, he says the city would like her to be in jail, or the city doesn't recommend she stay there. That's not what he said. He told the truth. It was one of the few times he told the truth to the court. He said, I do not want her in jail. I want her to sit there. Also, I want to mention that a month prior to this, he tried to break in my house with the Quality of Life team. And when he was approached by my attorneys, he then told me, in front of several of my neighbors, he said, Miss Bassanio, you may have won this battle, but I will win the war. And when we do, I will handle this all my way. Well, he came through with his promise. He came through with his threat. And his way is a very ugly, white supremacist way. Even Katie is the social worker at medical center for the psychiatric department. She has a psychiatric degree. And even she, a white woman, at the scene told me that later, after the fact, once we got to the hospital, she said, this is some white supremacy KKK thing going on. I said, I know. She said, because I saw them high-fiving and celebrating, handcuffing your 83-year-old mother. No respect for the elderly. Hence the fact that they told me we're going to sell your mother's house and put her in a nursing home. They did the exact same thing across the street to a Nicaraguan woman who owned her own house. So I was told to beware and be careful because my mom was next on the list. And so I thought I had all the bases covered. But this is how these white supremacists work. They come when you least expect it, regardless of the fact that you are in cooperation with the law. So they now are holding my mom hostage in the hospital. She's not allowed to leave. She's not under arrest. In fact, they put us in the news and social media as an example to the community. And they stated that they saved my mother and they saved my children against my wrath. But what he didn't tell people on the news or social media was that he, in fact, had my 83-year-old mother arrested. And he claimed that he exonerated her of any housing charges. He did not. As a matter of fact, he gave me all her charges for the house. And then when I went to court, he asked the judge to include my mother in the charges were originally hers. That's not even legal. And the Judge Kelly Austin, did it. And then when I returned back to court some weeks later, and my mother was supposed to be in court, comprehend, she's in the hospital, as per Jacob Hudnut. He told the social worker, don't you let her leave, and definitely not with her daughter, because the social worker was already releasing her into my care. So he stopped that, and DIFUS was returning my children as soon as I got out of jail because they were evaluated, inspected, there was a picture of health, everything was fine. Hudnut himself personally called DIFUS, personally called the social worker, and said, no, you keep the kids. No, you keep the mom. And when I showed up that day, last time in court, and the judge said, where is Corazon Bassanio? That's my mother, because they added her onto her charges. These were already her charges. Hudnut had the nerve, and I want you to understand, it's recorded in the court, had the nerve to say, I don't know where Miss Bassanio is. She's vacant, and she knew well that she was supposed to be here today. I had to let the court know that he was lying, that he, in fact, is holding my mom hostage in the hospital, and said, don't let her step foot out the door. So she couldn't even show up to court even if she wanted to. And so when her guardian started cooperating with her because he was doing things against my mother, when her guardian decided that he was going to help us save the house, they got rid of him and gave her another total stranger. The guardian saw her twice physically in the 3 months she was in the hospital. And she's been asking for her glasses and her teeth for 3 months. So you tell me, is this guardian in her best interest, the guardian that's trying to sell her house and put her in a senior home?
Oh, no.
And so when I go to the social worker and I say, listen, I'm her daughter, and I was told that I am not her caretaker, which I am. I've been her caretaker for several years now. And I want you to know something. I can get paid to do that. There's numbers you can call, and the city, the state will pay for you to take care of your own mother. I don't even contact them to get paid. I just do it just because you're supposed to do. That's what we as indigenous people, as Africans, as Moors, that's what we do. We take care of our own. We don't ship them off to a senior home. We only do that if now our elderly people are that sick, are deadly sick, or maybe so incapacitated that they are a danger to themselves. That's the only time in life we ever do that. But we don't do that. And as a Filipino, as one of the Moorish people, we definitely do not do that. So what I'm telling you is we're being held hostage. They're going to do a sheriff's sale to our house, and this is why they've now switched her guardian. I need help out there. I had already spoke with Nan. That's A.L.L. and Company. So NAACP is completely aware of my situation, and A.L.L. knows what's going on and had committed to helping. So in what capacity, I don't know yet. So I'm still waiting for Sharpton to work his magic and ask for the keys to our house back, to ask for our lives back. They told our truck had nothing to do with it. Our truck was a $30,000 truck that we paid for. It was already paid for. Why would you take our truck? Why would you padlock our house? If a house is dirty, they're supposed to make you clean it. They're not supposed to lock it. But I'm going to tell you, Brother Ron, I got access to the house for 1 hour, and I recorded. And in my children's room, they threw things from the kitchen and the yard like recycled. And they took evaporated, we had boxes of evaporated milk and dry milk. And they took it and they threw it all over my children's room, all over on top of everything. Now, if we were really living like that, why would their room be coated with evaporated milk? It would be mixed all in everything. Why was it just sitting on top of everything like somebody just threw it? It's because there is evidence that they trashed our house. Now, when I asked in court, the last time I was in court, I said, Your Honor, may I be allowed in my house to clean my dirty house? She was ready to say yes. This is Judge Kelly Austin, and the prosecutor Hudnut said, no, you cannot enter your house. And I said, why not? He said, because it's a crime scene. Now, you and I know it is a crime scene, but I'm not the criminal who did it. So here's my question. If it's such a crime scene that I can't walk through, how come they've had at least between 5 to 10 different cleaning companies walk by themselves all through my house, my closet, my children's room, walk all through my house? I want you to understand something. My house is being vandalized as you and I speak. People have stolen things from my front yard. I have it done up beautiful like Macy's window. People have stolen stuff from there. And people who've gone inside my house, as per the health department, because they're the ones who have to come open the door, people have taken 3 different tablets. They took $400, and I don't even know what else is missing because I haven't even gone through all our drawers and all our things yet. But things are going missing. So I'm not allowed in my own house, yet strangers, streams and streams of strangers are allowed to walk and traipse all through my house. And I want to tell you something. The day that I was there, that John Ross from the health department, the same guy who scheduled the appointment for Friday the 13th, he let me in. I didn't realize it was him who had let me in. And he opened the door, and he was ready to lock the door once the people were done evaluating my house. But he didn't know they left back doors open, windows open. So basically, it was just, they don't give a damn about my house. They don't care if people walk in and out. They welcome it. And they're about to hire a cleaning crew for $6,500 to pick clothes up off the floor and throw everything out on the floor. I want you to understand, they emptied out drawers, they emptied out bins, they emptied out things from our closet. So we have family photos, wedding pictures, baby photos of my kids, my baby photos, and they're basically going to throw out everything, including documents we have, documents against the city. How is it legal that I can't walk through my own house? My mom ain't allowed to walk through her own house, but half of New Jersey from cleaning company. In fact, they pay. I told them every year I winterize my house for the last 15 years. My uncles taught me as a teenager how to winterize my house, how to turn on the heat, how to drain the pipes, how to do everything I need to do to prepare my house for winter. I told them this. They said, no, we're hiring people, but we're going to charge you. Why would you hire strangers to walk in my home, go through my house, and do what I normally do for free? Why would you do that and then charge me? And now you want to hire cleaning crews for $6,500. Something that I could do myself, something that if I hired a regular cleaning crew, they'd probably charge a couple of $100. But you want $6,500? This is crazy. Every single thing they're doing is illegal. Even DIFUS lies in court because they're telling all the information that the prosecutor is saying. They basically just spitting it. And when I say to the judge, hey, but that prosecutor assaulted me and now he's doing this. Every single judge say the same thing to me. They say, I'm sorry, I believe the prosecutor. So it took me 7 weeks, but I finally was able to file formal charges on both the prosecutor and the sergeant. And I was able to charge the prosecutor with 9 criminal charges, most of them federal, because there's forgery and perjury, and that alone he could get in big trouble for. That alone, the courts had evidence from his audio and from the transferred tickets and playing around, because understand there's a paper trail from here to Florida stating my innocence, my mother's innocence, and everything they did to me. And I want to tell you something real, real interesting. This reminds me, and in no way, shape, or form am I saying that what has happened to me is worse than what happened to Black Wall Street. By no means at all, because there were thousands and thousands of Negroes and innocent children, innocent people killed over lies. And then you know what happened. The city took over and they did what they did. Well, in the same way that I angered one white supremacist, he got all the people, the right people in the city, to come down on me. Because I'm going to let you know this. The people who wasn't supposed to inspect my house was called quality of life. Meaning if there's an issue with the house, they're supposed to help the elderly and children. So they were supposed to assist my mother and assist my children in any wrongdoing, any problems we may have had. They weren't supposed to come and arrest my mother. They help people. And I want you to know this, that quality of life team, I had beforehand, because I told the prosecutor, I don't trust you people, as I have reason to not trust. And so he said, well, this is what we're going to do. I will introduce you to the entire quality of life squad, and if you are not in agreement with certain persons, you can change them. So part of the quality of life squad included 2 Black gentlemen, 1 Hispanic man, and a white cop that I had approved of because I know he's a good cop, okay? The day that they showed up, a day early, the good cop was replaced by that sergeant who brutalized me. And I didn't even tell you what he tried to do while he was brutalizing me. I'll tell you that in a second. But Instead, they had him come, and it was all old white men, except for Hudnut. He's 35. So it was a whole white squad of people who came and descended upon my house, and they showed up at my house with gloves on, ready to arrest. So they already knew I was not going to let them in my house, not without a warrant, and we had an inspection for the next day, so they did their dirt. Now, this is what I want to say to you. While the sergeant was brutalizing me right in front of my 16-year-old, right in front of him, he assaulted me, handcuffed me, then he purposely kicked my feet, and he kept stepping on my feet to trip me. And I want you to understand something. The body cam footage is so critical because I am narrating every single goddamn thing he was doing to me. I said, why you stepping on my feet? Why you trying to kick and trip me? And then he kicked and tripped me, and I busted my lip on the cement. And while I was down there, he kicked my legs open. I was wearing a long dress that was hanging off my hips all the way to the ground. He kicked my legs open. He stepped in the middle of my neck, my legs, right near my vagina, okay? He put his foot right there. Then he tried to yank me up by my handcuffs. And he kept doing it repeatedly. But I kept trying to stay on the ground because I knew damn well if he yanks me up, he got his foot on the top of my skirt, he would have had me standing there in my panties in a crop top, right in front of my child.
Mm-mm.
And it seemed like he was getting some type of sexual kick, because I told you when he was telling me, he wouldn't tell me while I was being arrested, but he sounded happy and excited. It was like some whole dominatrix thing. Now, this is what I want to say to you. Very interestingly enough, for the religious folk out there, when I was telling the same story to somebody who was from the church, it didn't even occur to me till that particular point in time. She said, you mean he really tried to strip your skirt off and right in front of your child? And I said, yes. They tried to strip, they tried to make me naked in the street in front of her family, just like they did Jesus. Just like they did Jesus. Interestingly enough, because I want you to understand, these people are evil. What they are doing, it's not just a race war, because there is some white folk that most people who crying the loudest to try and help me out is some good white folk. We got some good white folk out there. But the problem is a lot of them don't want to speak up and don't want to say nothing. Now, you know damn well, Brother Ron, if you are at some venue and say there's, 50% black, 50% white, and they might pursue an argument between somebody black and somebody white, and then maybe the black person, say, went too far verbally and said something, right? You know, another brother would check him, because we as Africans are a very considerate, kind, calmer people, and we police our own. We'll be like, now, brother, you could debate her, but let's keep it, respectable and whatnot. We police our own. So what I'm saying to you is, these white folk, more of them need to come out the woodwork and police their own, because they the ones doing this. And we can't do nothing or say nothing because they're not listening to us. But I want to tell you something. One of my neighbors, she is on TV. She is a comedian. She occasionally is on The View. She has a big afro. When she tried to intervene because she saw me in the cop car, she said, are you in the van? She said, are you okay? And I said, no, I'm not. Help. And when she went to question the police, they talked to her like she ain't nobody. But then my white neighbor and friend came from across the street, and they let her walk right up into my house like it was nothing. Now, I want to tell you, that was actually a blessing on my part, because they couldn't completely vandalize the downstairs apartment. We own 3 apartments in one house. It's 3-family house. So they couldn't vandalize the garden apartment completely because she walked into it. So how come the black woman, she on TV, she's a personality, how come they dismiss her? But this white woman who's just a regular Joe is able to walk right into my house, and they're not even stopping her. You see what I'm saying? So right then and there, you see what this is about. You know, they did a lot of, you know, they sprayed poison all over the inside of my house. They trashed my house. They did so much to us, Brother Ron, that I'm going to tell you, when I was in the back of the van, I was in shock and I was scared for my life because all I could think was about Sandra Bland and all the other indigenous folk who they get in their hands, and the next thing you know, they dead the next day. And to be honest with you, Brother Ron, especially after he tried to take my skirt off 5 different times, I really thought that I was going to be raped and then murdered in jail. I really did. I really did. As a matter of fact, I walked into City Hall today to schedule a meeting with the mayor because I don't even know if he's aware of the situation. And when I went in there to schedule a meeting with the mayor, somebody in the resident response kind of just like walked up to me very quickly, and I flinched. And the woman said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Listen, I've been assaulted by a prosecutor and a sergeant, and I see this man inside City Hall walking to me quickly. I thought he was going to punch me too. I don't know who to trust anymore."
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to know that people say, well, she should have gone to the Attorney General. Let me tell you something. I skipped the Bar Association. I skipped the county's prosecutor's office, and I went straight to the Attorney General. His office is fully aware, even or anybody else was, about what went on. Nothing is done. Nothing is done. And they know. They completely know. I've literally emailed them evidence and everything, and that Attorney General Grewal, he was here in Jersey City. He was here to talk to the mayor. He had meetings, but they have all my info. Do you think anybody called me to talk about my situation that I reported all the way back in September and repeatedly kept reporting? And I was told that somebody would get back to me. Nobody ever got back to me. In the last conversation I had, I was told that I just had to sit and wait. And they did absolutely nothing, but they let me know that all the info that I gave them can be used against me, and that's exactly what they're doing. And somebody said, well, why did you give them all the info? I said, because I have nothing to hide. I want the truth to be known. I did nothing wrong. This is what occurred, and now they're trying to make my mother lose her house, make me lose my kids. They already gave away. They adopted out our dogs. Oh. Even the dogs that are named after my children, the mother and father of the others, they gave my son's name is Abraham Lincoln, by the way. He a fellow Negro, too. His real father was a West African slave, and his mother was a mixed people that contain, I forgot what they called them, but they were mixed people
like
that are
mixed. Or something like that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It begins with an M, but I can never get it right. And that's why, think about this, you got a million pictures of George Washington. There wasn't no cameras, but they drew a zillion, all these other people that we have from way back when, and they have pictures of them because they drew the pictures. Why is there not one drawn picture of our 16th president according to them, but why is there no picture of Lincoln's mother? That's because she was a mixed race woman. Those people are mixed with Dutch, I think a little bit of Irish, but they are primarily mixed with American Indian, African, and, yes, Mexican. So I tell Mexicans all day long, you better stand up and claim Abraham Lincoln because he's Mexican. And listen, who didn't really know or recognize that he was mixed? Because I knew since grammar school, as somebody who mixed myself and I got mixed hair, I saw his hair and I said, that man is mixed. Man, it's so obvious. And, you know, that's why they give him a bad rap. That's what that whole coin thing is about. That's why he's the only coin that is brown and it's facing the opposite than the others. And you know that penny cost them 5 to 8 cents to make. But they still keep making that penny, copper. Even though they put filling inside, they still wrap it in copper because that is how deep the racism goes. They have literally been trying to steal Abraham Lincoln's body even up to the 1940s. They were trying to steal his body. This is the type of sickness we're talking about. And just so you know, if you go to Dr. Layla Africa and type in on YouTube there, Dr. Layla Africa, Africa with a K, and you type in white racism, you will then understand that white racism period, is an illness, and it is done out of sickness. And a lot of these people are sick, and I'm going to tell you, they are primarily sick because they are automatically, and I want you to understand something. My mom been in the hospital for 3 months. I've talked to lots of doctors and nurses who have all confirmed what I'm about to say, which I did not learn from them. I learned from Dr. Layla Africa, that most of these Europeans, because they are coming from glaciated soil, they already have vitamin deficiencies. So I am told, again, even by the hospital, that every European, even if they've been here a bunch of generations, every European is born with at least 2 vitamin deficiencies. What I'm saying to you is, if you have 4 or more vitamin deficiencies, this is the medical basis for bipolar and schizophrenia. Okay? And why? And I wrote a pamphlet 3 years ago entitled The Mental Fragility of White Males. And between the ages of 35, interestingly enough, Hudnut is 35, 35 to 60. Now that was just gauging a general age, but I feel we can even go from 30 and up. This is why you see so many white men in charge who snap and lose it. Just snap. Out the clear, just snap. And unfortunately, a lot of those people are judges, are police, are part of the court system. And the reason they snap is because of their dietary. See, a lot of European, a lot of white women, they take better care of themselves. Now, we're not saying that nothing ever happens to them and they don't mentally fracture. We're saying they're least likely to fracture because they have a better diet than their counterparts. Okay? Now, you and I could probably have popcorn and soda every day, but as indigenous people, we might not lose our mind because we have vitamins in our skin, and the sun helps us with that. We literally perform photosynthesis. I was thrown into prison for 6 days, and I did not eat or drink. Why am I not dead? In fact, I only felt sick by day 3 because I could not see the sun. I had no access to the sun at all. As a matter of fact, going back to what I was telling you about the sun and jail and how they've designed it, there is the area that where I was, there is some sun that comes in, but they have a red line marked, and you are not allowed to pass that red line. The only way you could get in the sunlight is if you walked into the sunlight. But that red line is about 8 feet from the window. That sun don't ever go past that red line. So we are not, and we already know who most of the people are in jail. We already know. So they do not want us to be healthy. They want us to be sick. You know, you can't get no sun. I felt like a plant that was dying because I sun gaze. I know people, in fact, I know someone who is losing their vision, but I told you already, right? The sun gazing. The sun gazing is actually helping and restore his vision. Little by little, it restores vision, because if you go and look up some of Kate's, he's an arts degree, if you look up some of his videos, he talks about the photosynthesis that we perform within ourselves and the fact that we as human beings can make and produce our own water. In the same way the woman makes the breast milk, we can produce our own water. That sun is the most amazing thing for you and I, for every African, for every indigenous person. That sun is so good, but for the European, it's not. So the tall buildings, the cement under our feet are made to keep us away from the ground, from grounding ourselves, and it's meant to keep the sun away from us. And so they tell us, don't be in the sun this long because it's no good for you. Make sure you wear sunglasses and all this. Everything they're telling us is meant for the European. That don't jive with our biology. That's not how we set up, because as indigenous people, it does not count how many generations you say, well, I was a country folk, but I've been in the city for 6 generations, so we city people, we don't eat this or we don't do that. No. Let me explain to you. The way our biology, the way that we are supposed to be taking care of our biological needs is doing what our ancestors did for the last 10,000 years. So as brown folk, our ancestors were in the sun for 10, 15 hours a day. How come the slaves weren't exhausted by the sun? How come they didn't collapse and faint in the sun? Because we are people of the sun. Let a white boy try and do a little bit of what a slave did back then, and I'm not trying to be funny, but from heat exhaustion, and that would be that. So, again, everything that they're doing is not for us. All that dairy is not for us. All that blocking the sun is not for us. We need to be in the sun 8 hours a day. That's why when summer comes, we come into our own, right? As soon as those coats come off, we happy. We walking in the rain barefoot. We so happy and into ourselves, because that is who we are for 10,000 years. We are people of the sun. And again, I want to state this, because everywhere I go, there seems to be a lot of confusion, and people believe the lie. Comprehend this. Well, whether you're talking about America or you're talking about the planet, our planet is at least 3/4 brown. That's it. That's a fact. That's what it is. 3/4 brown. It's only about 1/4 of it that's actually European. And if we're talking about America, best believe 80% of America is not white. Do not believe the hype. Do not believe the lie. In fact, I'm going to tell you, they not even good liars, the government, because I saw a government census last year, and it said that 14% of Americans are Hispanic, and it said only 11% are black and 7% are Asian. Man, Brother Ron, let me tell you something. First of all, they forgetting that Hispanic and Asians is part of the brown category. That's the same group. So even if you add that up, 14%, 11%, that's 25. Add the 7, that's 32%. But you know damn well we are the majority. I don't care how many white places you go to and you think you see all white people. Where are you going to go? Vermont? Okay, that's 99%, white people, but you know how tiny Vermont is? And you go a lot of these other places. First of all, half the people is illegals from all different nations, brown nations. They don't even count them in the census. So you don't even know how many people is really there. I love what George Lopez has an old stand-up routine, and he says, census, are you kidding me? They have no idea how many Mexicans is really in America, And I say this all day when people talk about a wall, what I said. Mexicans, I tell them, you have the right to be here, because when you see Mexicans coming in the country, they're not trying to break in our country. They're trying to go home. You are standing in what are parts of Mexico. This is indigenous land. This is sacred land. And they traipsing all over North Dakota pipeline, doing all this stuff, all this dirty, dirty things. Colonization has got to stop. It's got to stop because they're going overboard. They're killing our people. They're killing Africans in cars with the babies. They come in for the man, but they say we're going to shoot up the whole car, including the baby in the back seat and the mom in the front who's innocent. They're doing this left and right. Now what? Now what you're going to do? We outnumber the Europeans at least 1,000 to 1. And people do not realize that there's a lot of Europeans on our side because they got no choice, because they didn't really care too much about the politics. But now you got a black grandbaby, now you care, don't you? Now you got a black niece and nephew, now you care. So technically, I'm going to, if I include those European folk that is down with the program because they got some of us in their family, now you're talking about probably 90%. So now who's really doing the white supremacy and running all this is that 10%. But they're making their voice really loud because their numbers is dwindling. The numbers is dwindling. And the less there are of you, now you scared. And what they really scared of is that we're going to do to them what they did to us during slavery. And you know what? I just want to say one thing, too, that when we say slavery, it is incorrect. I, as an intellectual, as a moral, will correct the situation. There was no situation in America, not what you and I think. That was a hostage situation. Because slavery comes from Slavic, and those were the original slaves. And yes, the Moors did begin the whole mess. But those were Slavs, Slavic people. I have a girlfriend who's Russian and Polish, and she told me that her great-grandaunt and her great-grandmother were actually slaves by the Moors and had actually escaped. And she told me she knew that those are the real slaves, the Slavs. And I said, yes, because the people, the indigenous people here who were enslaved were hostages in the same way my mother a hostage, in the same way that I'm a hostage, in the same way they thought they could beat me and strip me in front of my child even though I was innocent, in the same way they thought, well, we could just take these people, they ain't nothing but some brown folk. It'll make a difference. You know what I'm saying? So they're doing every wicked, evil colonizer think you can imagine. All of it, they doing it.
Queen Bernadette, you gave a lot of people food for thought. I always see the question, the comment section gonna be jumping and popping off on this video. What's the best way that we could get in touch with you to support you or to follow you? How can people reach out to you?
Yes, so the channel is called Archipelago More, and that's spelled ARCHIPELAGO and more, MOOR. But if you're having trouble finding the channel, you can go to White Supremacy, Jersey City, Part 1, and you see me with my long blonde hair. No, I'm not real blonde, but you'll see me there in the video, and that's how you can recognize it. And if anybody wants to make a donation, because understand, they locked up our bank accounts and everything.
Right.
So for 2 months, I was wearing the same pair of jeans because anytime I got $5, $10, everything, I was buying things for my kids. They took my kids and wasn't feeding my kids and told me, you feed your kids. I said, excuse me?
Wow.
You took my job, my livelihood, and my bank account. How do you expect me to feed my kids? You see what I'm saying? What am I supposed to do? Go strip? Go become a hooker? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So I have gotten by with donations, little bits of donations from people, but I really need help because it's like Dr. Kaba Kameen said, show me a poor revolutionist and then I'll show you a revolution that is poor, that, it doesn't count. You can't do nothing if I can't even go to the store and buy a candy bar. I've literally, just so your audience knows, I've literally had to walk 2 to 5 miles every day because I don't have money to get on a bus or to get on a light rail, and I'm sure it's not, going to do something illegal to get on there, because that's what this government is doing. So I do have Cash App, even though they shut down my account. I have Cash App, and my Cash App is Third Eye Electricity. So it's 3RDEYEE, 2 E's in a row, LECTRICITY, Third Eye Electricity. That is my Cash App. Again, Brother Ron, if there will be updates, I scheduled, allegedly, was supposed to be a meeting with the mayor, and things are crazy right now in Jersey City with the shooting and all that. We'll see where this goes. But, like I said, I need to get awareness to the people, because they try to put gag order on my videos so that I can't tell the truth of what's happening, because I name judges' names and everything. But when people subscribe and like and watch my videos, the more they do this, the more when I go to court, they start to back up, because I remind them that I record all the conversations and everything. So I want you to know that first video, White Supremacy Jersey City Part 1, has 1,200 views, 800 more views, and I could go live. And that's what I'm trying to do, go live to make awareness, Brother Ron. I also want people to know, because I am an oracle, I'm an empath, telepath, and this is what Baba Dick Gregory was. He was an empath, telepath. He was our Moses. We all, as indigenous people, have this ability, but we have with all the meat, we have to do away with all the milk, all the dairy, and we need to get back in tune with who we are as indigenous people. Stop doing what the European doing, because it ain't good for him, but it really ain't no good for us.
Wow, that's a lot you said. Definitely, we want to support you in your righteous struggle, and we want your family to come back together. We're gonna send out amplified blessings of positivity, light, and vibration to that situation. So definitely, I want to make sure that people support you, SiStar Queen Bernadette, because you are a righteous sister. You are fighting a good fight, and it needs to be publicized and amplified. So we definitely look forward to having you back on the platform to talk about, your updates and what's going on with you, and also any other thing you want to talk about. Because I already know the comment section is going to be off the chain.
Thank you so much, Brother Ron. Yeah. And please, I ask everybody, it doesn't make a difference who you pray to, but I ask for all your prayers. And I ask for all your prayers. And listen, I'm in Jersey City. I'm also looking and seeking to have certain people, help me. Like Nick Cannon is right there. He was dealing with Baba Gregory. He's Aquarius like me, so I know he'll understand, what I'm going through. So if Nick Cannon could reach out and help me out, he can reach me at my channel. He can email me, just so everybody out there knows. If somebody knows something that could help me, or someone who could assist me in any way, shape, or form, even if it's donation with clothes for myself or my mother or my kids, whatever it could be that you can help me with, you can reach me at archipelagomore@gmail.com. That is also my email, as well as my channel address. Again, that's archipelagomore@gmail, ARCHIPELAGOMOOR, and that is also the channel as well. So Nick Cannon, Fetty Wap, the Young Maz in Jersey City, Fetty, you right in Newark, but Brother Nick Cannon, I know you righteous. I know certain things and can help me out. So I'm reaching out. if anybody
and
who
also
can
I
help
say
me.
Shaquille O'Neal and Queen Latifah. I'm Lake Jersey folks.
Queen Latifah is the queen for real. I actually know people who know Latifah, and it's funny. I feel bad. I didn't even say that, and the only reason I didn't mention her because she is from Irvington. That's a beautiful, beautiful woman, and so is her mother. She now in California, so that's why I didn't even mention her. But hey, Queen, if you could holler at another queen, anybody who could help me out, Snoop Dogg. As a matter of fact, we had one of our dogs that was given away was named Kemet. It was a black dog, and Kemet is the original name of Egypt. He looked like Snoop Dogg. He looked so much like Snoop Dogg. It's ridiculous. And so they took her and adopted her out, and they made her name Kimmit, Kimmit, like almost like Kermit the Frog or something. Right. And I said to my children, I said, leave it to the colonizer to destroy and ruin a beautiful African name like Kimmit. So my Kemet dog, that look just like Snoop. So Snoop Dogg, you help A$AP Rocky out. My thing may not be as big as his. It might not be international, but is big here in New Jersey, and I need help. But again,
Shaquille O'Neal just opened up an apartment complex up in Newark, the luxurious apartment for affordable housing.
Really?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah, Jackson, Newark.
But you know what I do know? Even if brother Will Smith and sister Jada Smith could help me out, because I'm going to tell you, a lot of people do not know that they do a lot of undercover charity work. And I found out quite by accident a couple of years ago that Will Smith very, very quietly in the Newark schools had donated brand new laptops for the brown children to keep and take home, okay? Not no busted, no-name brand. He gave them good laptops to the tune of several thousand laptops. Will Smith did that. And because he's a philanthropist, so Will Smith, we're huge fans of you in my house. So please, somebody come rescue us, because January 7th, they're going to try and set us off. We were getting a loan, and they're canceling our loan because of what's going on, and we owe $222,000. By the way, my lot number of my house is 22, and my name is Bernadette Bisagno. That's the second letter, 22. And my birthday is February 2nd. That's 22. And for those of you who are familiar with Baba Dick Gregory, 22 is also his wedding anniversary date. So that 22 seemed real important, and it's $222,000 that we owe on my house lot number 22. So they trying to keep and take my house before the year 2020, because that's another. Maybe King Simon could look into that. King Simon in Brooklyn, he deal with numerology. But again, I thank you for the interview and for helping me to bring to light all the ugliness and lies, because the truth always comes to light. And, I'm fighting the battle of good and evil on the side of good. And so, we have to pray and do what we can do for each other. And again, anything anyone can do, even if it's just putting me in touch with somebody, please feel free to do so. And you know what? That's basically it. And I look forward to the next time that we speak again, Brother Ron, and catching you up with what's going on and seeing if the mayor really does do something, or if they're going to really allow my kids to be adopted out and my mother to be thrown in a nursing home, and all the craziness they're claiming that they're going to do. Yeah.
We got you in our thoughts and prayers and positive vibrations, and I know the righteous ancestors got your back as well, too. So in the words of Great Gelton, we love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing. America to Kings.
Thank you, King, and I appreciate you. And you know what? I just want to say this. Thank God for you, Brother Ron, because we now have this treasure trove of all these Dick Gregory interviews that we could go back and refer to, and you really did a service for the people in doing those videos. You really did. And it's something that I know I'm not the only one. A lot of people hold that treasure that you made very, very sacred. It's part of our archives. It's very important work that you were doing, and it's still important work you're doing now. All the work you do and all the interviews and all the important and historical things that you bring to light that we would have never known about had you not said anything.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ron.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing you in 2020.
Okay. Well, it was good talking to you, and to everyone out there, peace, light, positive energy, and again, pray for us, and if you can help in any way, I appreciate it. Even words of encouragement, if you want to email me, these things keep helping me when I feel like I just can't go on no more because they're doing so many things to break me. Words of encouragement, especially from strangers, they touch me and they make me dust myself off and straighten myself as an African warrior and say, oh, hell no.
All right. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes. Yes. So peace, light, and positive energy, Brother Ron, and I hope to hear from you soon again.
You will. I say. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. This is Brother Ron. I am asking you all to do me a big favor. Think about supporting the We All Be movement. Your donation is tax deductible. The We All Be Group Incorporated is a recognized 501c3. And I'm just asking you all because I want to keep on bringing y'all quality work through the way that I know how to do best. And I'm going to sing my praises and toot my horn. A lot of y'all were not hip to Dick Gregory until Brother Ron brought him on the We All Be platform, until that jingle review we did. Y'all seen another side of Judge Joe Brown, and Judge Joe Brown's message has been amplified. But it was We All Be that brought Judge Joe Brown to y'all back in 2014. And so many others. And we covered so many things. So help us out so we can help you all. Peace.